The real name of Vietnam is the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The red in the flag represents all the blood spilt in the Vietnam War. The star represents 5 groups of people helping to build socialism: the Union of Workers, peasants, soldiers, intellectuals, and the young people. The capital of Vietnam is Hanoi. It has a lot of interesting architecture due to its history and location. Many buildings have a Chinese look to them. That is because China sits on one of Vietnam's borders. A lot of traditions and ways of Chinese people have changed Vietnam forever. In addition to the Chinese influence, French traditions have hung around for quite a while. The French architecture came when France tried to overtake Vietnam. During the short time when France was in rule, many buildings were built with the French style. Some buildings, like the Hanoi Opera House, still stand today. Vietnam is surrounded by Laos, Cambodia, the Gulf of Tonkin, and the South China Sea. China is one of Vietnam's neighbors, and that plays a big role in the culture and traditions of Vietnam. Vietnam has a warm climate for most of the year due to its location. Lush vegetation gives farmers a great advantage. Farming helps support Vietnam's economy and people. One of Vietnam's major crops is rice. It is eaten with almost every meal of the day. An important farming place for rice is the delta of the Mekong River. Its rich soils and water richen the quality of the rice. As Vietnam grew, 2 very different groups began to form: North Vietnam and South Vietnam. America was very concerned on what was going to happen. We could see a war coming. Ho Chi Minh was a leader of North Vietnam. Nguyen Minh Triet was a leader of South Vietnam. America was in favor of his ideas, and we kept an eye out on what was going on between the 2 sides in case South Vietnam needed our help. America was fascinated with the war. They were worried about North Vietnam gaining too much power and overcoming the other countries around it. In the 1950s, America started sending troops over to assist South Vietnam. Many troops were sent over, but not many came back. About 2.5 million people were killed on each side. America needed to make a major adjustment in the war. Too many men were being killed, and they needed to take all of them out. If South Vietnam needed help, we thought other countries would help them out. When America pulled out, South Vietnam fell. North Vietnam conquered and won. Ho Chi Minh was the new leader. The news shocked America, and wonder for the future increased. Some famous people are Nguyen Van Thi, a painter, Vu Trong Phung, a writer, and Nguyen Trai, a poet. Nguyen Van Thi expressed his thoughts about the war through his art. His feelings were too strong, and he thought that words could not describe them. Vu Trong Phung is a famous writer in Vietnam. He also had a lot of newspaper articles. When he died, some of his articles were given to a museum in Hanoi, the city he died in. The famous poet Nguyen Trai was loved by many people. He was called the hero of the past. He was a founder of poetry in the national language and tried to help people describe their past using poetry. In Vietnam, Tet is one of the biggest holidays. The celebration lasts for 3 days. Parks all over Vietnam have Tet fairs. Tet is the first day of the lunar year, or sometime between late January and early February. Buddhism is the most popular religion in Vietnam. Many monuments are built for paying respects. Traditional clothing is less popular now. Western values were first introduced by the French. In 2006, Vietnam joined with the U.S. in a free trade agreement that exposed more Western values and styles to Vietnamese people. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on Vietnam. Tạm biệt!